Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our flight into the deep of this amazing universe that contains ancient language. And from that language perspective, we're kind of take a glimpse of what's going on in the past. And a lot of it is my imagination. And I did do some research on the language, and I'm as the native language user, I could have some sense, but it's very limited. So a lot of this is exploration. Okay, last time we talked about 症结所在. It's from the symptoms that where you can find things are all pointing to. Where is the knot of the things? That's 结 is a lot of times Chinese way to say the crux of things, the main point, or things, the essential thing that hold everything else together. So that's the 症结. Okay, today we have two carryover characters. 症结所在, right? In this phrase, we have 在 and 所 flipped. We have 在所不辞. Okay, 在所不辞. Again, review of 在 and 所. These are commonly used Chinese words. And before I started this program, I have no clue what they, like how they came into being, like what's their original meaning, and how this language extend, like build on top of their original meaning. So the original meaning of 在 means existence. Something in existence comes from two conditions. One is this left side, it means the innate quality. It's the soil, the plant, and this pointer point toward the root of things. And the right side is the external condition, which is the soil, the plant, and the pointer point toward below the root of the plant. That means the surroundings or the bottom of the root. So it's pointing not toward the root, but what's below the root. That's the soil. So you have the soil and the root itself in combination, this internal, I guess, generic code, and then external, the environment where this plant can only grow from, like probably soil specific as well. And from that soil, probably the sun, the air implied, right? The temperature implied, all that external conditions have to be met, all of that. And then this thing can exist. So you can see existence is not accidents. It have to be alignment of all the conditions for it to exist. But if you want to lay out all the conditions, basically it's just two types of conditions, the internal condition and the external condition. So this character, I view it as really a philosophical way to capture these two types of conditions of existence. So that's a pretty lengthy way to explain what is 在, what is at. Even if it came from this existence, this big concept, right? In the everyday use, this 在 simply means at, there, to mean to point to the location. So there's nothing, for me as a language user, I don't really think too much about it. Only when I go deep dive of the components of this character, and then I realize, okay, really a lot of information packed in there. But in contemporary use, it's simply English is at. Okay, 所 is, I translate as a position, but it came from this location of this door, one panel door, and the right side is the axe symbol. So carving off the log is the deed of the axe, and from that deed, we imply the tool itself. So axing, or maybe it's the action of axing, right? So it's like logging or chopping up the wood, or woodwork in general. So woodwork with door panel is house building activity. And this house building then extended into kind of containers of domestic space. So this house building, it didn't say what kind of house, what function of house. It can be applied to all kinds of situations, residential, commercial, governmental, all that different type of buildings, those housings of people for certain function could be used as 所 with 所. So something, something 所, that's how Chinese create different concepts. So 所 basically capture this housing. And from this housing, eventually extend to position. And I guess we can kind of imagine on the Google map or something, right? That little pointer thing, this red balloon bubble pointing toward that. So from the housing, the concrete housing itself, then it becomes a geographic pinpoint location of that thing. So 在所 then becomes at this position where you cannot. This no, again, a bird image flying upward toward the sky. This is the sky saying no to the earth. And so that's the poetic way of no origin. And so 不辞, okay, 辞 came from this lawsuit image. Can we imagine Chinese, ancient Chinese lawsuit? How that looks like? It's in a courtroom that's super, how to say, people straight-faced, of course, right? So it's not a place that you want to be. But sometimes you do have civil case. You bring up to the court, and then some judge, which is there were no split of power. So it could be the local government acting as judge at the same time. So kind of to tell right from wrong, right? So this right side is an ancient corporal punishment tool for whoever was regarded as a lawbreaker or whoever deserved to be punished, going to be used to use this tool to be punished. So this punishment tool then become the symbol of the authority of the law, ancient courtroom. So ancient courtroom. And then in the middle, this dumbbell looking thing actually is a baby simplification. So baby is still in a bundle, only have a big head, and the body represented by another big bundle, another side of the bundle. So this is, or some, I guess you can view it as some sort of tied up property thing. And then in the middle, horizontal line, kind of a try to split. So it could be a material, asset or property. So you have two hand symbols here to try to pull from each side, almost like, what's it called? I forgot how it's called, a 拔河. It's pull from each side to go after either it's a baby or it's some property that both sides argue that they own it or majority of it, something like that, right? So this three hand finger symbol look like that, means lightly handed, and then the bottom right is three finger hand symbol look like that. It's also like a kind of a try to handle it to get hold of it, right? So this within this narrow scope of this narrow space, it's like on the court, the two sides are arguing over this thing, baby or otherwise, in a court. So this is the full picture of that. So it's a kind of a courtroom argument presenting your case. So the whole context here means somebody who is saying that they are at the position where they cannot argue. They cannot argue their case. So this argue for their case eventually extended into they don't have excuse not to do something. So they are required to do something, and then they are in a position that they cannot say no to that duty. So I translate it as dependable because oftentimes in a context, this is about the assignment of some like Mission Impossible or some hard task to a capable person who often, when taking this task, would say 在所不辞. Like they are in this position that they are capable of, or they are in this position to responsible for something. Okay, so here I put on a Christmassy looking peaceful town image to, I think at the time when I put it here to illustrate dependable, I was thinking about a power grid for that wintry wonderland creation, this image of creation. So in contemporary living, in a city living, we take it for granted. We take it for granted that electricity, power grid is always there, it's always on, it's always available. And this sense of always being there is exactly that dependable, this feeling of dependable, right? You can depend on the condition or on the assumption that the electricity is always available for a city. And two, as an example to create this winter image, but it's not necessarily always there, right? When in some extreme times, things can go wrong, and then that normalcy, sense of normalcy, will be shattered. So this non-shattered normalcy built on this condition of electricity, power grid of this town is very dependable. You can expect it to light up the night because we always have electricity. So that's the kind of dependability I try to illustrate over here. But this phrase 在所不辞 oftentimes used as taking over some job that people kind of keep promise that I'm not going to excuse myself from doing it because I'm in the position to do it. Okay, Cashing into the Currency of Thinking by One Word a Day with Sophie. See you another day.